not one but two guests. And actually, I think I need to somehow... Okay, so I'm going to... There we go. We got all three going. All right. Hey, Talk Universe cool. Facebook Live. We are back with and now with Eric Fletcher. And Ellen has been hanging around a little bit. We do something called the Skype sandwich if people are on the ball enough back to back. And I just decided to do this to try to make my brain explode by doing enough different things at the same time. Like this, digital equivalent. Hey, Ellen, any final words of advice to Eric here as you're all on Facebook Live, and this is all new ground, but I know you did the private word of advice when I was out doing an unspecified activity that I will not mention what that may have been, had to step away for a moment. Any public words of affirmation, warning, or advice since we're all on Facebook Live right now?
Well, I already told Eric not to let you bully him. I'm kidding.
that won't stop. Yeah.
Oh, I love
it. Just, you know what? Just have fun with it. And, just share all your good stuff because I know you've got lots of good stuff, Eric.
Well, I can tell by the smile on your face that you had fun with it. So it's a good act to follow. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, cool. Ellen, if you'll kindly just kind of drop offline. And actually what I'm going to do is whenever we do a kind of a three-way phone call on Skype, that is kind of asking for trouble. So, Eric, I'm actually going to call you right back. We are on Facebook Live. It's okay. No panic. No need to worry. No need to panic. And Eric will be right back with us. And, Ellen, you're welcome to stay online and keep watching this. So, Eric, I'm going to call you right back, sir.
Okay.
All right, Facebook Live, back to the two of us, just the two of us again, and I got to move a couple of windows around to hit the right button, and here is Eric, and hopefully bring it right back. I've heard there are sunspots and a full moon, and that might be impacting Skype. Oh, we don't want that. There we go. Yep, we are here.
Bingo.
Welcome back. We're still Facebook Live, and I don't see your video yet, though, so you might want to toggle that.
Oh, really?
Yep, don't see that yet, and if we need to, we'll just kind of jump off and jump right back on. You had I had seen a invite from you, which was the three-way call, which is kind of the polluted, it's not polluted, but it's like tech, at-risk call. So why don't I do this, Eric? Yeah. I'll give you a call right back, and hopefully you can, the video thing kicks in.
Perfect.
All right, right back at you. All right, and this is the way it works. Going to move the window out of the way that you guys can't see. Going to video Skype Eric again, and we'll do it again if we need to. No problems. No need to get upset. No need to panic. No need to worry. No hand-wringing necessary at all. All right, well, I am kind of wondering what's going on here, though. This is very interesting. Very interesting. I think I'll let Eric call me this next time, maybe. Huh. Well, and we're not going to call with double again. We're going to try it again. I'm texting him. We'll try you again, Eric. Okay. Oh, here he is. Oh, that's a call from Eric. All right. And we're back with Eric. Yeah, we're back. Right. We did it, and we're pretty much good to go. Okay, now that was fun. All right.
I'm only marginally proficient at Skype.
Yeah, well, Skype is only marginally proficient at what it's supposed to do outside of the audio quality is great. But the connecting and the finding and the friending instead of my 18 other avatars on Skype that they won't let me delete, that's not so cool. So anyway, I'm going to practice your bio here. So it's the missing metric, exploring how we measure vision. A former broadcaster and award-winning ad guy, Eric Fletcher is a fractional interim on-demand CMO and marketing consultant, keynote speaker, blogger, and board member for thought leadership, educational, and nonprofit organizations. and it is EricFletcher.com. I need to increase the font sizes here because I'm a little challenged there. All right, very good. And I am, I'm pretty much ready to rock on this. I spoke with my interview, and I'm blanking out just because I'm talking to 15 people today, but I had reached out to you, and I'm so excited to hear your side of this experience. So this is just wonderful. It's one of the reasons I started the alumni Facebook group, is make it easier not just for me to stay in touch with you, but for you to meet these other amazing people and just share one another's stories and perspectives. So it's all cool. All right. So any questions for me, Eric, before I hit the actual recorder here?
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, awesome. And thank you for being extra flexible. I'm not usually doing all this Facebook living and everything else.
No sweat, man.
All right. Actually, let's do this real quick. If you can give me a 5 count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We're sounding pretty good, and we are back in 3, 2. We are live with Eric Fletcher. Eric, are you ready to talk?
I am ready, Nathan.
A former broadcaster and award-winning ad guy, Eric Fletcher is a fractional, interim, on-demand CMO and marketing consultant, keynote speaker, blogger, and board member for thought leadership, educational, and nonprofit organizations. Eric Fletcher, welcome to the talk.
Thanks. I really appreciate the invitation, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, so am I, because your talk is all about the missing metric, exploring how we measure vision. And I love this. This is brilliant, because it's like the movie Inception. There's a talk within a talk within a talk within a story. Your story, as powerful as it is simply an illustration of your message of helping people change the metrics by which we measure what is good, what is bad, what is impressive, what's normal, what's the status quo. I love it. I could go on and on and on, but I'm going to ask you, take us, Eric, behind the talk.
Well, Nathan, you nailed it. I think of the talk as having 2 parts. First, kind of a cautionary tale, the downside to us relying so heavily, sometimes solely, on tools and measurement devices to help shape the way we view a person, whether we're talking about ourselves or a family member, our kids, people that we know and love, even our communities. We measure everything, right? And I mentioned in the talk, it starts early with that newborn infant, where we measure the length and the weight, and then check in at those critical benchmarks to be sure that physical development's taking place along the way. But it extends throughout life. I mean, we measure what constitutes a win, what constitutes a loss. We measure possibility, aptitude, possibility, and plenty of the measures are. I'm an ad guy. I believe in measuring things, but what happens if the tools that we're using or the measurements that we derive from those tools don't tell the whole story? If they're incomplete, it causes, and so the talk is really about the unintended consequences. What happens when we allow those external measurements to define the way we think about ourselves, our kids, our friends, our neighborhood, whatever the case may be. And as you mentioned, that's really the point of the talk. I do use a personal story to help weave it together, and that's the story. I early in my life measured by all measures, and still by all measures am labeled, categorized as legally blind. And again, this isn't really so much about me, hopefully, but it's about how, depending on measures, tend to allow us to label, to put people in a box, and define the way we view people, as well as the way we view ourselves.
Eric,
So that's behind the talk.
Yeah, that is behind the talk, and just to kind of bring quickly up to speed and check me to make sure that I understand correctly. Your parents, so you received that label or diagnosis early in life, and your parents had to go to specialist after specialist after specialist. It wasn't because they were in denial about your condition. It was because they had a different vision. They had a different vision for you, for your life, and they found someone who was willing to be or already was outside the box, and they were able to and this is where I get a little fuzzy. It's important just because you're the talk and you've made it something so much greater. They were able to diagnose or find that it's not your eyes, it's another part. And when you go somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, where you have already been, you are as if you are fully sighted, if I remember from your talk correctly. However, I don't understand how that works. So I'm trying to catch everybody up. I'm going to turn it over to you because I'm obviously very a little thin on the details, and I'm also really curious on how this actually works.
Well, I really appreciate I mean, you got a lot of it spot on. So my particular, I mean, the only way we measure vision is still the same as the way it's been measured for decades, and it's with the typical eye chart, or now we use eye machines. But it's, can you define anything? In my whole life, I can define the big E on that wall chart that we used to see as kids. My parents, so I was born cross-eyed, which has nothing to do with my visual impairment, but it happened to be an eye malady, and I had surgery as a child to uncross the eyes. So my parents knew that there was a visual impairment of some type, but they really didn't think much about it, and they never treated me like anything was wrong. And I was probably school age, 5 or 6 or 7, by the time I went to a doctor and the diagnosis started coming in. And so the correction that I would make to your characterization, Nathan, I don't see I'm not fully sighted. The point of the way we measure vision, there's only one tool to measure it. It measures, can I read letters from a certain distance away? And that's, I would love to be able to do that. but the brain is an amazing tool, as I know you know, because I've listened to enough of your talks. The brain is an amazing tool, and we start to compensate if we let the brain do the work that it's designed to do, and if we'll exercise it, and and thank God my parents, they didn't A, view me as blind, and so B, they never treated me as blind. And quickly, I've got to say, of course, this isn't about being blind or not. This is about the danger in measurement. And so because they treated me as if nothing was wrong, I was allowed to behave as if nothing was wrong. And I can see fine. People say, well, how do you see? What do you see? And it's impossible for me to describe because I don't see the same way you do, right? But
I'm really asking you to somehow be able to describe something that's indescribable both for you and for myself. I'm trying to find that too.
It is so. The easiest way for me to describe it is I don't see most of the detail that you probably see. I see things in terms of shape, in terms of motion. I can tell if I know you, if we met and I got to know you and we met several times, I would recognize you from a few feet away, not because I could define the characteristics of your face, but I would notice the way you move, the way you walk, the way you hold and that's just the way I see, and it's the way I always have seen it. And again, one of the tough parts of the talk is talking this much about me, because I say in the talk, I said on the stage, I never ever viewed myself as blind. that just didn't even register with me when the diagnosis would be spoken out loud. And it's not because of anything I did. Again, thank God I had parents that just thought the diagnosis, there was just something else there. There was a missing metric in their view. And so they challenged me to, I played basketball and baseball and football, and I wasn't any good at any of them. And the degree to which needing to be able to see was a critical factor. I really wasn't any good, but I had all those experiences. I got to quickly add, and then I'll shut up and let's talk about something besides me. There are plenty of people who start out in life, and the older I get, many of my peers are dealing with the loss of visual capacity, macular degeneration, and that kind of thing. And in many respects, some of that approximates the way I see. Those people have a much, much, much more challenging road than I ever had, because this is the way I've always seen. So, it really is less about me if the message comes through, and more about we just need to be careful. I'm a walking, talking example that a certain definition, a certain box, a certain label probably wasn't accurate. If that makes sense.
Oh, it certainly does. And this is about rejecting the status quo. This is about staying out of denial while being aware of if there is a one gold standard or only one standard to measure something, and that being, it's almost like the world is flat. Well, no, the world's round. Well, prove it. Well, give me a ship and I'll sail around the world. It's like the world is flat kind of thing, almost coming into this. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but when there's only that one kind of measurement, and we do know about the human brain, we do know about other, there's almost a metaphysical thing where you can, and this is my words, not yours. You didn't say this, but it's almost like you can sense people's energy or whatever it would be, or there's some kind of mechanism that is wonderful and very special that would allow you to distinguish me if we had met, which we haven't, but out from maybe a crowd or people around. And again, I'm putting words in your mouth, but I think this is really interesting. I'm going to let you take those words out of my mouth and fix this.
Well, so the point you're making the point. Well, the specifics are less critical in my view. The older I get, age starts to do to my eyes the same thing it does to everybody's eyes, and I don't see as well as I used to. If that's, but the oddity there, and I know I don't see as well as I used to. The oddity is, if I go to the eye doctor tomorrow and I'm given the test, I'm going to test exactly the way I've always tested since I was 5 years old. There's not going to be any different. And so, whether you're talking about a personality test, and they're rampant in the workplace, and they're good and they're valuable, and they're helpful. But, or whether you're talking about testing kids for where their inclinations are, where their capabilities might be for potential, I'm just really slow to assume that anything we create to physically test someone gives us all the data. So it's a healthy way to view. I believe that's just a healthy way to view, from the way I view my kids to the way I think about people I work with to the way I think about a little larger global view.
We've been enjoying this talk with interview with Eric Fletcher. His talk is called "The Missing Metric: Exploring How We Measure Vision." And in a moment, we're going to be right back with the Blitz Round. And we're back. It's time for the Blitz Round with Eric Fletcher. I'm about to ask Eric a couple of questions, either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of his recent branded talk. Are you ready, Eric?
I'm ready.
Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
I am almost always an improviser, but for the talk, I was a memorizer.
How'd that work for you?
It was uncomfortable, but it was the right thing to do.
Well, it came through loud and clear, so sometimes that can be, sometimes there can be pitfalls with that, but in your case, definitely we got the message. So that being said, you walk out on stage. Did you have nerves, or were you in the zone, or neither, or both?
I had nerves. Again, memorizing was uncomfortable. As I was walking up, I said, the heck am I? How do I start? Those moments. So I had plenty of nerves, but they were gone quickly.
Yeah. What was and there are several answers to this. What would you say is the biggest challenge of your talk?
Wow. Organizing it and getting it down, getting it concise, because I, as you can tell, I go all over the place.
Yeah. Well, and what was the time count for yours? Again?
My time count was 9 minutes, and wow. I had to cut out a couple of minutes, and I at TEDx San Antonio, they made it very clear, you go over, you're stealing time from the next person, and you will be cut off.
Well, and to say what you said in that talk that went so deep, I mean, it was a talk within a talk in 9 minutes, all memorized. Very well played, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's high praise.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during or right before your talk?
Wow. Can I go right after? So right after my talk, my wife attended, and there were, I think, 16 or 17 talks on this particular day. And she's not one to sit through one talk, let alone 16 or 17. I got finished, went back and sat down beside her in the audience, and she leaned over and said, I am really glad. This is good stuff. And then she wasn't talking about me. She was talking about the everything else she'd heard that day. So that was fun and surprising.
We've been enjoying the Blitz Round with Eric Fletcher, and his talk was called The Missing Metric, Exploring How We Measure Vision. And you can check out that talk by typing it into YouTube, or you can go to our show notes page at bethetalk.com. We will have a clickable link right there, as well as you can connect to Eric R. Fletcher at Eric R. as in Robert, Fletcher.com. And we're going to be right back in just a moment with the final word of advice. And we're back with the final word of advice to Talk Universe from Eric Fletcher.
So how about this, Nathan? Consider this, that no matter what you do when it comes to shaping your opinion or thinking about yourself or other people, all of the measures aside, one tool, one measure has the ability to fly in the face of what everything else says, and that is the vision that you have to think about what might be, to think about what's possible. Nurture that. It's in all of us. Nurture it, seize it, tap into it every day.
Eric Fletcher, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your wisdom today with Talk Universe.
Thank you, Nathan. It's been a pleasure.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, thank you. That was
excellent.
You're a great interviewer.
Oh, what do you like about me?
Well,
people say that. I say thank you very much. Let me know what I did that was decent, because I don't know.
Well, so first you make it a conversation, and that's fun, and you make your guests feel comfortable. I think that's, you probably are well aware of that. Everybody,
people say that.
I've watched several. Yeah.
People say that about me. I can't imagine. My adjunct professor persona has been lost, I guess. I make people comfortable. Wow.
Well, it's that microphone that does it.
Yeah, the microphone. The little bit of podcasting theater here to make everybody feel good. Hey, Talk Universe, thanks so much, Facebook Live. We're going to go offline here in a second. So we're going to sign off, and then our next guest is waiting in the wings. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back in just a couple of minutes.